I, unlike everybody in the room, am not a realtor. So I help small and medium-sized businesses, primarily real estate, with increasing your online presence, your digital footprint, and making you more prevalent for your business. So you've heard it from every single session that we've sat through, hearing it from the top producers, the pros, the people who can dance circles around you guys in your industry, which is amazing. But what are we hearing consistently from them? Systems, technology, looking forward, looking to the future, and looking beyond where you are right now. Technology has changed so much. So if you're looking at what you were doing, what Facebook was doing, what Facebook advertising was doing a year ago, it's different now. So with that, we have a panel lined up of some extremely incredible bright minds. And when I say bright minds, I have my finger on the pulse of the nation as far as what is happening when it comes to trends, changes, algorithm shifts, and I watch everything that Andrew and Danny do. And Andrew, I am one of his biggest fans as far as what he's doing in the digital marketing space. And we have some very, very wonderful, bright minds sitting in front of you. So I'm going to pass this over. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they do. And I also want to open this up throughout, after they tell you what they do. I want you to ask a lot of questions, because the bottom line with this panel in particular, a lot of wonderful information has been shared today, but we want you to walk out of this room today having learned something that ignites you and excites you and makes you want to go and implement it tomorrow. So if you're not getting that question answered, if you are walking out of here going, I still don't get it, put your hand up and ask the questions. All right, Andrew, tell us who you are, what you do, in case anybody in the room hasn't figured that part out.
So I'm Andrew Fogliato. I work at a company called Just Sell Homes. We do digital marketing for agents. I'm sure you've heard it a few times. I might need to pay Heather or give her some sort of refund, because it turns out she's a salesperson for me now. She did a great job. But yeah, so I'll just pass it on. You guys kind of see me throughout the day.
Chris Keleher. I run a local real estate team here in Collingwood Blue Mountains, and I use digital media pretty heavily, so I talked to Andrew about being involved, and he thought this would be a great avenue to do so.
Cool. My name's Danny Wood. I used to be a real estate agent, but now I own Brokerage Nation, and that's 100 offices and 5,000 agents, mostly in the States, and it all started with digital marketing and getting them buyers and sellers. I have a good example. Like, I did an open house, paid $180 for the newspaper ad, nobody showed up. And that was my first week in the business, and I'm like, oh my God, this is expensive. So I thought to myself, am I willing to flush $180? It was $180, I'm in Oshawa, so it cost $180 for a three-day shelf life before the next print hit. So I'm like, if I'm gonna spend $180 for this puny little ad, I might as well just go all in online. So I just went into Google. I'm like, I'm going to pay $180 per month instead of $180 per every 3 days. And I was only paying when people would actually search Oshawa open houses. So I just dominated. I know those people of all the internet leads, they're hopping in a car this weekend. Whether I want to do the open house or not doesn't matter, because I do the targeting of the people who are searching Oshawa open houses this week, Saturday open house, like anything that had to do with open house, minus the word school and church and a few other things. If it was real estate open houses, I dominated that because they're hopping in a car this week. So I could do shotgun marketing and spend a ton of money. Like, we can spend so much money in this industry with print mail, direct mail, and I'm not saying don't do that, but digital marketing is the blessing of saving a ton of money if you set up the right funnels. Obviously, you can flush your money down the drain if you don't know what you're doing, but we'll share with you some of that today.
Why do I think it's important? I mean, I think online presence and such is important for the same reason cars became important when we made the transition from horses. And if you could imagine someone riding up beside you on a horse when you're in your car and them thinking, you know what, you're just wasting your money on that. I still do direct mail, and I work my sphere of influence, et cetera, but you know, if you're not online, you're not anywhere. If I asked anyone here, let's find a nice restaurant in town, I'm sure you'd all pick up your phones and do that. You wouldn't rush outside and find a phone book and read the newspaper. So, and then sort of advice to, you know, why it works for me and what's the best. It's just commitment, consistency, and content. Everyone wants to just dabble a little bit and see if it works, and if it does work, then they'll spend the money on it. If you spend the money on it and you're consistent, it will work. That's a fact. Everyone's seen it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But you got to take a deep breath. The same way when you hire your first assistant or your first agent or whatever it is, you're worried about the money you're going to spend out, but it's going to replace that money instantly once you commit to it. But I think it's the fear of everything. We've all seen even a print ad, and then next week it's not there. We've seen a Facebook post, next week it's not there. We see Keith Roy doing amazing stuff, and I know Keith, and I do a fall festival for the same reason he does that. I do a movie day for the same reason he does. We have the same systems there, but when you talk about touches, you got to think about how many times you're having a touch when it appears on Facebook, when your sign appears on the lawn, when it's in a magazine, whatever it is. These are all touches, and that's another reminder that you're in this field, and that's what you do. And Facebook, for me, has been the best way. There's lots of media outlets to do this, but I've used Facebook, and it's generated great success for me, and I think as long as you are consistent and have content and are committed to this, then it will work.
Just a show of hands, how many people you know who Gary Vee is? A few? Yeah. One of the things he likes to kind of do in his conferences, he says, how many of you, put up your hands, spend more than an hour a day outside of arm's reach from your phone? Anyone spend more than an hour a day away? That's why digital marketing is important. You're always on your phone. It's always there. Like they showed on Facebook, the average user, whether you realize it or not, checks it like 50 times a day. Like that's a lot of time you're spending on there. Like I had a client, now this is a team doing about 400 deals a year, so the numbers are a little different than most agents. They were spending $10,000 a month on newspaper ads. And they were debating whether it was worth it to hire me for online marketing because they weren't doing anything. And so I said, you know what, give me 5% of the budget that you're spending on newspaper ads for a month, and we'll see what happens. And I think we generated, I can't remember the exact number now, but we worked out to like 17 times more leads than what they were spending on the 10 grand. So and then within 6 months, they weren't even in the newspapers anymore. So eventually, if you know what you're doing, you have a strategy, it can work.
Most of you know, okay, I need to be there. But what do I do? Where do I start? What is this content sphere that you're talking about? What actually moves the needle for this industry specifically? So let's pass that back over. Let's talk content. What content is working and why?
So part of it depends on the individual agent, what works the best, like written video, things like that, how much time you're willing to spend. If you are just going to dive deep into it, I would say do everything about your community. So especially, this is what I always say, how many people getting out of here from Collingwood, Sega area? You guys basically have an unfair advantage when it comes to the social stuff because you just live in a really cool place with a lot of cool, Blue Mountain. I live in Aurora. If you've been there, there's nothing fun going on there. It's a nice town, it's good to raise kids, but yeah. That's true. We do have good sushi, and there's actually a good Mexican place now called Dos Mariachis. But it's not from a content perspective, you're not going to go around town being check out this amazing place here. You can't show, I'd just call living on the mountain or the mountain life or do something like that and just share a ton of content about how amazing it is to live here. Top 7 things to do in the winter, top 7 things to do in the summer, and go that route and just show people how amazing it is here. Because before they're going to buy that house, they have to decide where they want to buy. So you can show them, and this is anywhere you are, show them, if I was living downtown, in Liberty Village, I'd show why Liberty Village, as it is the coolest place in Toronto, or Yorkville, or something like that. And then that way I'm also getting them earlier. Because if you're waiting, I prefer Facebook to Google, and I know Danny sometimes disagrees with me, is Facebook you're getting them before they're even starting that search. Because if they open up Google, they're typing homes for sale in Collingwood, they might open up 5 tabs and contact all of them. Facebook, you're just interrupting what they're doing. They haven't contacted anyone else yet. So you can really, with the right content, get in front of a lot of people.
Content is the reason why I began this. When I came to this town a few years back, so I've been in real estate in this town for almost 8 years now, and when I would Google real estate Collingwood, someone who people in this room may recognize and have seen, Marg Chevanetti would come up every time. Marg says that happened by accident. And I thought, well, she's doing something right. What does she have on her page? How is she showing up first? Why is Marg the one that everyone sees when they go online? You know, it's another advantage up here that, you know, when I came here, there wasn't that many people that had a huge online presence. So there wasn't something like Aurora where you'd have to battle against a bunch of agents that had a ton of online presence. But things have changed since then. You know, when I first got in this business and people heard that sound of an iPhone, which was an original sound then, everyone told me on their horses as they walked by me, as I was in my car, that you need a BlackBerry to be successful in this business. So since then, I think everyone's made that change, and most people are on some sort of smartphone that's above and beyond what a BlackBerry is, I hope. If you're not, I'll tell you where the spaces are in town. You can buy a new phone on the way out of this conference. But you know, things change very, very fast, and you know, get in quick. Get back to Gary Vee, content, and he talks about Facebook being the the #1 cheapest way to to get a presence through having content, through having fresh new stuff all the time, whatever it is. Whether it's Aurora, you could be talking about great lawn cutting services. There's always something that you can get out there that people are looking for that you'll interrupt their life with. And creating that content is what is creates value to being there and being in front of people, and not just being annoying with I sell real estate, call me, I sell real estate, call me, I sell real estate, call me. Marg Chabanetti's website was actually a great resource for me to learn about this town when I moved here, because she had everything about the town right on her website. It was quite great. So it's your website and it's your Facebook and everything combined to create that content, consistency, fresh stuff, new information, new ideas, et cetera, et cetera.
Cool. I'm going to give you guys 2 examples because it's hard to make something fit for everybody in the room. So I'm going to give you one example for the people that want to create content, and then, because some of you don't want to be bloggers either, and I realize that. So I'll start off with those that do want to be a blogger. I outsourced it, but I outsourced the rough draft. So I hired a girl who would go through our local newspaper, and she would every week write up 2 to 3 articles based on what happened that week. So our city of Oshawa got a $1 million statue. So then she talked about how cool it is that our city got a $1 million statue, and what else can you buy in Oshawa for $1 million? Well, take a look at these luxury homes for sale in Oshawa, and it linked to our listings of all the $1 million+ homes. There's a golf course that has wheelchair accessible golf carts. So if you're in a wheelchair, you get out, you get in the golf cart, you can drive around, press a button, it stands you up, you swing and hit the club, press the button, it sits you back down, and you can keep driving. So then we talked about how cool that is, and if this is something you're into, you may need a wheelchair accessible home. So whatever the article was, we just twisted it into a real estate conversation, and then we would link those people to the properties on our website that fit the match. Okay, so that's outsourcing it. You can just go to upwork.com or something and have somebody outsource it. She wouldn't post on my blog, because when I'm outsourcing, like I have a girl in Australia that does it now, better at English than I am, but before I was hiring people that didn't have good English. So do I really want them posting on my blog? No, so they would just save a Word document, and I would pick and choose the 2 articles out of the 4 that I liked. And then I would rework those articles myself. So instead of spending an hour, I would spend 20 minutes. Okay, so that's for the blogging people. For those of you that don't even want to write a blog, the best content is the listings. So what I would do is I would leverage our office, and I would take a look at my phone, and I would watch all the times that we have a new listing and it's vacant. So if we had a new listing come up in our office and it was vacant, I would call up that agent and say, hey Joey, congrats, you got a new listing. Is it cool if I do an open house this weekend? It's vacant, I don't think that'll be a problem. And they're usually like, yeah, sure, that's cool. Well, because it was a vacant listing, I'm like, well, I'm actually not going to do it on the weekend. I'm going to do it like Thursday night, Friday night. Is that okay? And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess so, whatever. It was vacant, so I turned that into my mobile office. And the rest of that week, my whole content was geared on driving people in that neighborhood to that listing. I was just trying to get the other sellers, the next person in line. So I had to do my prospecting, I had to do my follow-up, so I did it on the Thursdays and Friday nights from like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that sort of thing, and used other people's listings. So I would do direct mail, I would do door knocking, I would do the online ads with Facebook and Google, and I would be prospecting. Like I turned it into a full-on marketing event, and my whole content every week changed based on whatever the next vacant listing was. So if you're not leveraging your listings, leverage other people's listings. If you do have a lot of listings, then just go and order up a whole bunch of open house signs, and then when a new agent joins your company, be like, hey, congrats, you joined the company. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot of open houses. It's really expensive. I got the signs, you can just use mine. And now you got an army of your signs out in the street. I would have like 15, 20 of them and be like, yeah, have the keys to my garage. You can pick them up whenever you want. And they're just doing my own marketing.
Awesome. Okay. Facebook, Twitter.
So when most clients come to me, they're everywhere, like they have an account on everything. And normally I make them shut them all down except for Facebook. Because really you want to start somewhere, get good at it, start working it, and then start expanding from there. And everyone's on Facebook. Like all the stuff people are talking about, like young people are leaving, that's not really true. They're just not on it as much as Instagram or something like that. So I always say start with Facebook, and then from there it's think about who your ideal client is. So if you are dealing like in the city with, under 30s, Snapchat, it's great. Like you do geo filters, do all that stuff. But if you're dealing with seniors, Snapchat's probably not the right one for you. Twitter, 99% of people use it wrong, so normally, unless, like for me, Twitter is a professional networking thing. Like when I was an agent, it worked really well for building relationships. Like I used to auto-post every day at 9 a.m., how can I help you today? And an agent from Halifax just randomly said, I'd love a coffee. And that was back when Starbucks had this thing called Tweet a Coffee, where if you hit Tweet a Coffee with their name, it would send them automatically a $5 gift card to Starbucks. So 3 minutes later, I sent him a Starbucks gift card. He got it, and 10 minutes later, he's posting a picture with a Starbucks gift card that I got him in the coffee he bought. And that's a guy now, a little bit later, ended up sending me a referral, and it was just that's how we kind of connected, was online. So for Twitter, it's great for professional networking, and every single one has a plan. Like if you're Pinterest, up here, you got these great visuals, it would work. The average person on Pinterest, I think that's like something between 30, 45, suburban mom, making around 75K. If that's your kind of ideal client, Pinterest is a great place to be, but it just depends on where you are, but start with Facebook and go from there.
I'm going to continue with my car versus horse analogy and just go cars on this, since I hope no one rode their horse here. But I don't think there's anything. People say, what CRM should you use? Well, just use it. And if you use it, it works. Where should I door knock? Just door knock and it works. Like, just get it. If you do something consistently, it works, right? So, if you buy 8 cars and have them in your driveway, and one's real flashy and expensive, so you don't use it much, and one's better, so easier, fits more stuff, use that. And then the goal is to put 100,000 kilometers in each car. You're never going to do it on any of them. So I think whatever you want to use, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever you feel your demographic is, if you're doing millennials, maybe Instagram. If you want a broader range, maybe Facebook. Snapchat, I see the ears on people's faces. I don't get it. I don't know if I'll ever get into it. It seems like a game. I don't know if it's actually a function to it, but I'm also, I'm into my 40s now, so I don't get what these young people are doing. Which some of you might relate in this room when I got my iPhone. So I've chosen Facebook. It's worked for me, and it goes back to commit, consistency, and content. If you do something all the time, and you're going to feel it costs money, you're going to feel it takes time, you're going to feel it takes focus. But if you don't do it, like anything in your life, if you don't, you're not going to run a marathon tomorrow. You're going to run a little bit all the time and then go run it, and you got to prepare yourself to do it. So I'm not sure there's one that I would recommend over the other, because these guys would be the guys that know more about it. But if you have a presence on Google and you've picked some sort of social media to spread the word, and you're connecting with your database and your network, then you're being successful.
So I'm a young man with an old soul, and I was the type, like back in the day with AOL Messenger, my friends would, I never even added myself, I never even had once an account. I never had a username, never had a password. And they were always chatting back and forth, and I was missing out on the parties and stuff. And so I had to get onto something. So finally I got onto Facebook, and I would say get onto where the people are. So the majority of people are on Facebook. That's where the majority are. Obviously, if you have a niche, like a commercial real estate, you guys could leverage LinkedIn. Or if you're a broker, owner, manager, recruiting, you might be able to leverage LinkedIn, but not even really, because the people don't hang out on LinkedIn. The people actually hang out on Facebook. Some people actually hang out on Twitter. I don't, I can't read it. It's just a jumbled mess. People are shouting at me. I don't get Twitter. But so if you can leverage that tool, then definitely go for that. I would say it would be foolish for you guys not to be on YouTube, only if you're creating video. If you're not creating video, obviously don't worry. But if you are creating video, you have to get that stuff on YouTube. It's free. Do you know who the biggest search program is? The biggest search company? Google. Do you know who owns YouTube? Google. And so when people are doing searching, so maybe instead of you putting a video of that one particular street, 123 street for sale, and you have a video, when that home sells, what do you have to do? Do you have to take the video down? Rico, probably, maybe, I don't know, is Tim still here? Like, do you guys have to do that? But you guys aren't taking the videos off. But what if you made a universal video that you don't have to take off? Instead of talking about that one specific address, what if you made a video talking about that one specific street, and the title of it was, like, say, Coldstream Drive, and your video could be Coldstream Drive Homes for Sale? That's something that people search, Coldstream Drive listing, and you have a video of you at Coldstream Drive with like the for sale, not the for sale sign, the street sign behind you, or the corner store, or like whatever the pillar of that little community is, maybe it's a school or something recognizable, and make a little video talking about just around the corner is the park, and up here is the stream, and you can go running along the path, and that's an evergreen video that can be used for years and years and years and years. But Cole's Notes, I would say Facebook for sure, Google, pay-per-click, and Bing advertising. Didn't expect me to say that, did you? Bing.
Give me that.
So Bing advertising, so if you go to Google and search Oshawa real estate for sale, like you guys would pay for that as a keyword search. Now, that's where all the advertisers are going to, because we all say you should be advertising on Google. Well, you should also be on Bing. I actually pulled all of my marketing dollars away from Google and put it into Bing, because if I say, for simple math, that I had a $10 a day limit, I'll spend $10 a day for my advertising. Well, if I'm spending $10 a day on Google and it worked out to $1 per click, I would get 10 clicks. But on Bing, if I spend the same $10 per day, it might work out to me getting 20 clicks for the same cost. So if my daily budget is getting maxed out on Google, I'm going to just try it over on Bing. The other thing with Bing, it's funny, the people, no offense, aren't as sophisticated. So if you go out of your way to install Google Chrome onto your computer and you use Google, my mom would buy a computer, open it up out of the box. Well, she would tell me to open it up out of the box and plug it in for her, so I would do that. And then I leave, and she does her internet searching. Well, she's just searching on Explorer or Edge or whatever they call it now, because that's what's built into the thing. So she's the one that's going to be on it, and she's the type that would actually fill in Sharon Wood with her phone number and her real email, because it's asking her. But with Google, they're filling in Mickey Mouse information because they're a little, not cleverer, but maybe they are. They're a little more advanced, right? So I would say hang out where the people are. They're on Facebook primarily. Instagram is really good for branding, but it's terrible for traffic. So if you're going to be on Instagram and doing paid ads, I would say as long as your face or your branding is involved in one way or another, ideal. If not, it's not much of a traffic generator. But there's always like a grain of salt there. Like it could work. So that's my answer.
Can I just spin off this? So just a show of hands, has anyone used Bing before to search? Anyone use it regularly? Brandon, don't do that.
I'm just wondering, what sort of traction in a small, like Collingwood? How many people are using Bing versus Google? How many old people are here?
And again, I don't think that matters as much, because it's a matter of hits. But I'm curious to know, because people said, I was one person that told the person, my web manager, I'm not getting on social media. It's ridiculous. This is real estate. I don't want to be there. And it's been incredible for me. So my listings are getting 12,000 to 20,000 hits in a weekend. So it's really been good. I wanted to spin off the YouTube thing, and now there's something that I've never done, but in terms of advice, blogging is amazing if you can find the time to blog and get that content there, because Google loves to find the words in there. So that's why it's a park nearby, and if you want a house near a park, now you've said house and home and the town and et cetera, et cetera. YouTube is amazing. Videos are amazing. If you can take the time and hire the people and have the YouTube video with the blog in that caption that is basically a blog of the words in the video, you're getting the video content, the title content, and the words underneath it. Again, a lot of time, and I've never gotten to it. It's been something that I've heard is going to work, but he's probably going to expand on this and tell us how that works.
Easy way to do that, rev.com, rev.com. You can upload a file, and they will automatically generate transcriptions, captions, and all that for you. So it's $1 per minute. So if it's a 1-minute video, it's $1. That's US, so it's like $5, but still, you're good.
I'm stealing this one. Yeah. All the boys are stealing the show here. No, I just wanted to give you just like a little technical nugget on that comment about what platform: Facebook, YouTube, Google. Someone's upstaging us over here. Who is it? No, I'm kidding. From a technical standpoint on what platform you should be on or not be on, how many people here are familiar with what remarketing is? I've got a couple hands. How many are actively using remarketing? Awesome. All right, that's something we don't really talk too much about because we seem to dumb everything down, talk at a very basic level. But from a technical standpoint, if you are not on Facebook and leveraging that along with your own personal website and putting tracking pixels, Facebook tracking pixels on your personal website and leveraging that with Google tracking pixels or Bing, et cetera, then you're leaving a huge amount of money on the table. And as far as having to pick and choose what platforms to be on, as much as Google owns YouTube, Facebook owns Instagram, and they're now starting to play very nice together. Every single day, new updates are coming out. The algorithms are getting smarter, getting more challenging to crack, but there's so much you could leverage there from a remarketing standpoint. So when all those conversations happened earlier about the future planning and your future thinking forward, if you're not employing those tactics right now or getting into it, then that's a huge area that you are going to get left behind. All right, so I know we've one more. So do we want to talk about web platforms? Does anybody have questions? Why don't we go? Does anybody have questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
12,000 hits for the weekend. What did it cost?
That can vary.
So that
Do you want
for me, that varies. I mean, it depends on how interesting the listing is, where you targeted it. Am I targeting Toronto, Mississauga? You can drop pins for targeting. Like, it is a lot to learn. It is complicated. That's why I hire someone to do it for me. But, you know, and it also comes with traction. So if you don't get up to that speed, to go from 90 to 100 is easy, but to go from 0 to 100 is harder. So you got to get that traction, and it'll build and build and build. So I don't want anyone to think they're going to go sign up for a Facebook page and they get home and they're going to get that. But it takes, you know, and that's where I say commitment, right? You know, people say, well, I'll give you a month, and if you can do this, like your example, then I'll show me the results. But if you commit to doing a year, like I committed to a 2-year plan, this is what I was going to do, and these is what I was going to achieve. And if it takes time, money, and commitment, and if you're not willing to roll the dice and believe in the internet, then it's not going to work. But I would say go ahead and believe in both motorized vehicles with round tires and the internet, because they're going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
Days I'm like pressing $200, some days $23, and then I'm getting I see my credit card and I'm at like $700-800 every month. Sometimes people are like emailing me and it generates business, other times not. It's like I'm paying like.
Your boat has no rudder. You need a rudder.
I have no idea what's going on. So how much are you supposed to be spending on that stuff?
Don't worry about spending. We're going to focus. Post something, see what it does, why it did it, analyze it.
So this service, you guys like analyze everything, and so you guys are 3 separate companies.
Yeah.
We're all competitive.
I need it.
Yeah.
And how much, so in terms of like a marketing budget, would you just allocate all your funds towards social media? I mean, I that stuff, but like let's say you're making.
Kind of generic answer to that, when you talk to like top producing teams who really like measure it, they spend about like 14% is what a lot of them say. But really, it's what is your overall budget, what you can afford. Because social media, it's like, okay, like take door knocking example. If you start today door knocking, stop in a month, it's not going to do anything. You need to do it for a while. So like, if you need 6 months to really have it pay off, what can you afford to spend for 6 months before? If I had a small budget, personally, I'd put it all on social. But that didn't go, like I'd create a lot of content with that as well. Like when I started in sales, like I was an agent for a couple of years in a row and I built it online. I was super cheap. Like I used my website cost me $12 a year. And I didn't even like writing that. Well, it wasn't a check, it's online, but I haven't used a check in years. But for me, it's $12 a year. And I got every time, after 6 months, every time I made a new blog post and I did 3 to 5 a week, I'd get a couple leads out of it. But it took time to get there. And then I started reinvesting more and more and more, and then did more paid ads. So just think about like realistically, like if you were today and to spend it, kind of what's your runway for about 6 months.
And how do you incorporate branding into the Facebook ads with it going through? There's
What's your brand?
like our
Yeah.
Too many,
That-
too many words, it won't
That
post.
goes. So I think we have time for like 1 or 2 more, and then we got to go to the next. Yeah. So for me, that depends on audience size and budget. If I have a limited budget, and it also depends on my goal. So like, especially like if you're looking at the Toronto market, as an example, like how hot it was, you don't need to attract buyers with your ad. They were coming no matter what. So our ads for open houses were actually just targeted 1 mile radius around the house, trying to get the sellers. So that's a smaller budget. It's 1 mile around the house. You might have 4,000 people in there. You could get $20 and hit a lot of them. So I monitor that pretty closely across right now about 60 different ad accounts for agents. And it's across the board. It's not even close how much better from a lead gen perspective. Engagement, branding, Instagram's amazing. If I was up here, like you guys posting great pictures and throwing hashtags out there and doing all that, I would be all over Instagram if I lived up here. Aurora, back to the whole, it's kind of boring. You're not going around Aurora being like, check out this sweet, random other street that looks like every other one in town. Like, it's not nearly as fun as what you have here, so, but, yeah.
So I want to provide value to the question about how much you spend, because I think it'll help a lot of people, is I'm really cheap. So I never spend more than $600 a month on any of my marketing collectively, unless I'm doing an event or something like unique. But if it's ever all my online ads, a base price is $150 a month per platform. So if I'm advertising on Facebook, it's $150 a month. That's $5 a day is what it works out to, and that's kind of like the starting point. Yeah, so if that'll help most people understand, because I think some people didn't know that. $150 a month is like the base point for each of the platforms. So I just wanted to answer that. There's another question?
Question in the back?
At the end of the day, it's all about like the Facebook ads are there to do lead gen. And a year ago, I was using lead pages. Is that still the best way to be generating those leads online, or is I know Facebook sends some internal stuff there?
I think we're all going to have a different opinion on that. We all use very different tactics on how we acquire that.
So he brought up a product. It's called leadpages.net. It's a landing page generator. Actually, there's an amazing company in here. Let me see a show of hands of how many people have a website that they want to update it, or they don't have a website and they want to get a new one. Okay, so all of the hands need to walk over to that booth and talk to Agent Locator. They also are coming out, I don't know if it's out yet, but landing page builders specific to real estate. So real estate landing pages. It's got the CRM built in. That is amazing. Last year, I generated, for the real estate buyers and sellers, 16,000 leads, and we used Weebly, and that was free. But we had to still drive traffic to those pages. So Weebly, and that's how I built them. Leadpages.net is a landing page builder. ClickFunnels you're using, there's a whole bunch of landing page builders out there, but here's the tip. If all of you already have a website, you probably have a blog. On that blog, you can make a landing page. Each blog is a landing page. It's just unique content about one particular topic.
I've never used landing pages ever and had great success without it, but I did what you're talking about is just create great content, and Google wants to see it new all the time. So if you don't have a new listing every day, or you don't have a new listing every week, you don't have a new blog, a new post, you have to keep your website fresh all the time. And that's, if you have more of a static business, the landing page works to direct people through there. But I feel like these are also like buying online ads and things that people do. There's ways to get around just doing the hard work and committing to creating the content and refreshing your page. And I'm a believer in just do it yourself.
Okay, I think we need to wrap up, but in one word, one or 2 words or less, boom, boom, boom. If they could be doing one thing, one type of content or one thing, what is it? Go.
Provide value to the community.
Provide value to the community.
No. I would say lead follow-up.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense to...
We're good. Thank you.